Steve here with Alloyed RPG. Today we are talking with Tom and Bodhi, the father and son team, also known as Homie and the Dude, and they are the game designers, creators of Sky Zephyrs, which is currently on Kickstarter. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%. Nailed it.
I think you got about 22 days to go, something like that, but fully funded. So we will put a link in the channel description. So welcome to the channel, guys.
Thank you.
Steve.
Dude, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to hang out with you.
And so I understand you guys are originally American, but now are living in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%.
How did that transition happen?
Oh, it's a wild journey.
So Bodhi was born in America, born in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I was born in the States as well. So I had
You're born in Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas. And Tracy, my wife, and Bodhi's mom and I met in California. We moved to Jackson Hole, and I started a business. This is going back all the way back to 1997, and it was the beginning of the internet. Things were, all kinds of fun and fantastic and exciting things were happening. And I rode a bit of an internet bubble and timed it pretty well, and started a company in '97 and sold it in 2000, and finally left the company just before 2002. And at that point, I had a decision, which was either do it again, become a serial entrepreneur. That's what all my friends were asking me to do and saying you should do and all this, or become a little bit more of a present father, which I hadn't been for the first 4 years of Bodhi's life. I'd really just been pushing hard for this business. For sure. And we stepped off the treadmill completely, and my wife, Bodhi, and I moved to Spain at that time. So we were in southern Spain on the Mediterranean, and that's where Bodhi grew up. For his formative years were in Spain, and you would say at this point that
it's home. Yeah,
Spain is more home to you than America or England, isn't it?
Yeah, we've lived way longer here in the UK, but for me, Spain is definitely the place that I consider home. It's where from ages of 5 through to 11, which were I discovered all my loves, all my passions. It was a beautiful little bubble on this little seaside town that was just a little bit more isolated from the world, and allowed me to really be an outdoors kid. I just had a very fun childhood living out in Spain with my friends and learning a new language and just all that kind of stuff molded then our move to England, because I was kind of failing at school. Basically, my grades were dropping, my skills in some ways were dropping, and you guys were confused about it. I was confused about it because as all my teachers would say, and as I knew, I was like, I'm smart. I just can't do the thing, basically. And we found out that I'm severely dyslexic and probably have a little bit of autism as well. And we ended up moving to the UK to come in for me to attend a school that would essentially allow me to actually learn tools and stuff to help me overcome my dyslexia and my learning difficulties that were holding me back. Yeah. And so I went to a school for like 9 years of my life, and came out the other end able to write a book, apparently. So good times.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Now, of course, we're talking about RPGs and stuff like that. So I guess it's a little bit of an unfair question for you, but maybe Tom, is there a difference, or have you noticed any appreciable difference between RPG culture or players in the UK versus in the US?
That's a very interesting question.
That is interesting. So our most of our experience with RPGs is recent, in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years. But we do interact with a lot of American players. So we have an actual play that has, of our cast, there's 3 players that are based in America, and then 2 of us are based in the UK. Bodhi's the Dungeon Master. I'd say, there are just pop culture references that it feels like there is a little bit more of almost like an inside awareness in America that's a little bit more insular to North America. But, because things are so open everywhere, and the internet has really kind of equalized and homogenized everything. Not a lot, but I'd say a little bit.
Here's what I would say as well. Americans, as you know, we're very loud, forward people. Playing with Americans is a little bit of a different experience, where when you break through the barrier with people from the UK, it can be a beautiful, enriching experience. but there is a barrier of like, oh, I'm either too cool, or oh, I'm a little bit insecure, or I don't want to like put myself out there to really dive into the role playing and things like that. Where American people are just to say the least, they just go balls to the wall. It feels like you guys jump in at the deep end and really kind of commit. And I feel like Tom did the same thing. I feel like I do the same thing. My mother Tracy, who's English, nervous. Like you and I, though nervous, we're like excited by it. Where my mother at times gets nervous. She like asks me for advice. She wants feedback on her acting and how she's doing. When we do our actual play and things like that. And it's just a different experience, I would say. It's really interesting, the difference between the two, for sure.
So tell us a little bit about the Sky Zephyrs. What's the 30-second elevator pitch for that game? What would you say?
30-second elevator pitch. It's essentially an overlay, a system overlay for any setting, basically. What it means is it allows you to plug in these rules to your setting, and then you can then include things like airships, planes, submarines, naval vessels, spaceships. Essentially, you will be receiving a dynamic 3D movement and combat system that we've created. Brand new aircrew rules that allow you to have an amazing NPC aircrew assisting you along your journey. Incredible player feats that expand, the player options even further within the space. You'll get the option to have 25 plug-and-play Zephyrs, as we call them, airships to use in your own worlds and to customize at will. On top of that, for players and GMs, you will be able to fully customize and build your dream airships from over 200 stations and parts to build and comprise and modularize your very own dream airship. And we've also created that process in the book, so you can do so if you're old school, pen and paper, and do all your maths, how the old school way, how we make stat blocks in the using the DMG and all that kind of stuff. Or we have the HatD Builder, which is an application that we've created on our website that we are currently working on, where you will be able to go and select the parts, and it will do all the maths for you, give you a stat block at the end of it, along with a bill for how much it's going to cost in game, and you're good to then plug and play that into your game as well. So essentially, this is the comprehensive guide to airship combat, movement, and building, essentially, for your TTRPG table.
So question for each of you on this one. In that structure, what is your personal favorite mechanic?
Great question. You go first, because mine will probably be a longer answer. Go for it.
My favorite mechanic is something that we were struggling with for a little while, and then we unlocked it in, I don't know, it felt like a moment of, sometimes when something just opens up and it comes from, you don't even know where it comes from, but essentially it was around movement and wanting this to be an experience of dogfighting or of, swashbuckling combat where, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of chaos going on. There's strategy and all this other stuff. And we wanted to kind of get that going, but that there's a certain order of combat, right? There's a certain structure in combat that doesn't really allow for that, almost that intuitive, dynamic thought process, problem solving stuff. But anyway, so the solution, the aha moment was moving our airships, whether we're as players moving our airships or the DM is moving their airships at the exact same time at the end of a round of combat. And the kicker is potentially players having their movement to themselves while the DM would have his or her movement to themselves, and then revealing that at the same time, almost like dropping down the cards at the same time. So that immediately made us realize that, holy moly, we can now, when that drops, our airship's going this way, your airship's going this way, it's no longer a combat. Or we were both going like this, now we're going like this. Or we were both going like this, we're both going like this now. So it introduced this level of like 3D chess and a level of fun to the game that I didn't think was possible. And we somehow stumbled upon it, and that was just a really powerful moment for me.
For me, my favorite mechanic, I actually
I
love.
stole yours, didn't
That's what that is. That's one of my favorites for sure. That's
That's all
definitely
right.
one of my
You can have the
favorites.
same one. That's all right.
Um, Definitely one of my favorites. I would say my other favorite would be for our air crew. So air crew in our system can be done in various different ways. You can track them as like smaller groups. You can track them as individuals, or you can just leave them in the background and then utilize them as and when you need. What we've created is this resource essentially for players during combat, which is your air crew. Now your air crew can die, they can, they can help you with things, but they're in the background basically existing and maintaining your ship. And for me, the mechanic that I love most about it is the commands that you can give the air crew. So the air crew there's a list of basic commands that anyone from any ship, any background, anything can give to air crew when they get on a ship. And those commands could be anything from retrieve me that item to abandon Zephyr to give reload this weapon, that kind of thing. So it's things like that where you begin using the air crew on your turn as another option to interact with your ship and the space and combat in ways that people have never thought of before, basically.
As I'm thinking about your Kickstarter campaign, what was the most? I'll go on the positive here. What was the most enjoyable part of setting up your Kickstarter?
A week or two out of the Kickstarter, we spoke to someone from Maychan Press, a phenomenal third-party creator company that we can't sing their praises enough. They're absolutely incredible with what they do, and one of their people who works on their Kickstarters was willing to take a look at our page and give us some advice and give us some kind of pointers. And not only was the advice incredibly sound and helped us in ways that we couldn't even imagine, but also it was the compliments that he gave us on the work that we had already done. For me, that was a really nice moment, and shout out to Maychan Press for doing that for us and taking that time for us. It means a lot, meant a lot that they did that for us. Go for it.
So yeah, I think mine was. So we did fund in 4 hours, but during that time when we were funding, we were doing a live stream, and so we actually didn't realize, I don't think until we went live, what exactly we were doing, which could have really been quite awkward if we hadn't funded so early. We could have just been literally live, and so it was our whole team around a table, and we're just talking, and we also had scheduled a bunch of guests to come on that were essentially people that had come with us on our Homie and the Dude journey over the last 2 years, people that we've met, people that we have collaborated with, that we maybe have played games with, maybe have been guests on our podcast. And there was something that was so gratifying about having so much kind of love thrown at us and just kind of conveyed at how proud they were of us, of how
Just our
supportive
peers.
they were of
Our
us.
peers, coming in and just being homies.
It was awesome.
That was dope.
So we had, I think, 10 guests over the course of the evening, and they were, many of them are very good friends of us in the TTRPG community, and it was just, it was a nice moment to reward. Of course, the tallies on the backing numbers are going up, and that's all great. I didn't even look at that during the night. We would get updates as they were going. I just couldn't get myself to hit the refresh button. Since then, I do. But that night, that night was just all about the live stream and just appreciating the journey we've been on for over a year to get this Kickstarter to a launch date. And then having that night of several hours of just chilling with our friends and enjoying the moment was pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
So here's a weird one. If you had to compare Sky Zephyrs to an animal, real or mythical, what would it be?
Okay, let's have a look.
And why?
Oh, I think I have one.
What? That's a fucking wild question. You know what that might be? Do you know what? We've been doing a lot of podcasting for Sky Zephyrs. We've spoken to a lot of people, and we've talked about the project a lot. I think that's my favorite question we have ever received about Sky Zephyrs. That's fucking hilarious. God,
I've got one.
Okay, you go.
I'll go, and then you can keep thinking.
You go.
This is going to sound a little bit wacky, but I'm going to say it's kind of like a velociraptor. And here are the reasons why. It's not because it's like dangerous but it's deceptively clever and continually it's almost like the more you get to know it, the more you appreciate what's looking in front of you. The more you appreciate what's underneath the hood. it. And so it's like, whether it is the mechanics or the builder and the combination of the two, you're looking at something that has many levels to it. So I don't know. I picture a raptor having some, like, at some point you're like, it's a fucking dinosaur. And other points you're like, that dude's lethal. That dude can kill like things like 5 times as big as it, and that it can organize. It can like, I don't know, something in there.
Okay.
What do you got? What do you got?
I got a weird one. I got a squid.
Ooh,
because squids
nice.
are versatile, man. They can fit through any hole. They can like squeeze themselves. They can camouflage themselves. They can do water. They can do land. Shit, I imagine if we shot that thing into space, it would do space just fine.
So a squid is like the ultimate overlay animal.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going with. That's exactly how I was like, it's the most like versatile. Like again, like it can fit through any hole. It can camouflage. They're dangerous when they're giant. Like I feel like that's they peck you
with your
beak. They also they stick to you, they suction, they're annoying, but they're cute. Like it's all that stuff, man. They're the middle of all animals. They're like the average of all animals. Which means that they're just the most versatile.
Yeah.
That would be where I'd go with that.
So I read on your page and saw another interview with you guys. What's the MMA connection for you guys with MMA and tabletop RPG? I know there's
you don't see it. It's you literally don't see how seamless that connection is.
How do we explain this? So, first of all, Tom partook in martial arts when he was younger and did little bits and bobs growing up. Not to mention you grew up with people like Van Damme, Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee. Tom grew up with all these amazing action heroes. I was brought up on watching old kung fu movies. I remember watching Kill Bill and like Troy like at the age of like 7 or 8 with you. And like we like very much like Tom opened me up to this world of what I consider beautiful combat.
Yeah.
All of that and all our love for that culminated in the connection to TTRPG being, if you listen to our actual play, I promise you'll hear the best combat you've ever heard in a D&D game ever. What would you say about your love for MMA and shit?
I think, the connection itself, we've worked on making more of a connection of it. And so behind the scenes, we have actually put some time into bringing more of the MMA experience into the TTRPG world so that, hand-to-hand combat isn't so pedestrian, isn't so kind of
just
sanitized.
I hit. Oh, you hit. Wonderful. But we also have been working on a mixed martial arts class for D&D behind the scenes, which is something that we're slowly developing and it's coming a bit more to fruition, but something that's been in the background because we wanted to lead with Sky Zephyrs and it felt more important to us with the release of Spelljammer and how just wonderful that was and how much we all enjoyed Spelljammer.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions I always ask in my interviews for a role-playing game, folks, is what is your personal favorite game night snack?
Oh, great question. Great
Interesting.
question. You got one?
Well, there's certain criteria. So although there are certain things that I prefer,
this is always so much more of a complicated question.
It depends whether we're recording or not as well.
It does. So just cleanliness, like having, like to some degree, wings might be a consideration, but just at the table probably wouldn't be appropriate just because it's just too messy. So I don't know. I'm thinking like...
I know mine.
Go for it.
Straight off the bat, easy peasy. If I can, honey mustard pretzels.
Those are good.
Honey mustard pretzels.
Pretzel pieces.
Yes,
exactly. Exactly. Honey mustard pretzel pieces. I'm all about that.
Do you suck on those? Do you suck the mustard flavor?
No, I get as many in my mouth as I feasibly can and just chew
you don't need
for
to suck
ages.
On them. You just kind of get them in there.
Just try and get that one, or I would say another good one. I'm not sure how big this is in America, but there's a chocolate company in the UK called Cadbury's. And Cadbury's make a chocolate called Cadbury's Caramel, but they've turned it into like a little edible snack called Cadbury's Nibbles. And they're caramel nibbles, and dude, that's my absolute kryptonite. Like legitimately my kryptonite. I can devour a bag of those in one sitting. It's so bad. I need to like really stop. My cholesterol and my heart is just like, don't get diabetes.
I think
Terrible, dude. Terrible.
I mean, the other consideration is like I was thinking, I'd go for a good bag of like salt and balsamic vinegar like chips, but
Oh, good
the
shot.
crunch as well is kind of annoying. Depending on like I don't know if it's annoying or not, but there's things that I'm considering. Like first
Totally.
is cleanliness, second is like noise to the person next to me.
I'd say a good cider is a good.
Oh yeah, it's
You
just,
know, a cider with a game. You know, a couple of ciders with the game get you looser, and also a good snack beverage to have while you're playing.
Tracy, my wife, is a chef, and she tends to make us some nibbles every now and again. So
Nice.
she might put some like brownie out or something like
some
that.
nachos or something.
Some nachos, yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I'm always amazed with that question, the diversity of answers and how it seems like such a simple thing, and then it is not. Is there anything else that you guys want to pitch while you got the video?
Dude, I would just say this. We have built this because there was a lack in what we needed in D&D. We saw that there was a lack in what the community needed in D&D. We're out here trying to do this for the people. We've said this all along. This is our love song to the TTRPG community. We have been given a gift of playing this game and experiencing so many of our friends and beautiful people that we know because of this space now. And this is our thank you to all of you guys. We hope that you guys freaking love it and that it's something that, everyone finds helpful at their tables. But with that, this is also the reason why we're doing a month of public play testing for everyone as well. We want your guys' voice to be heard. It's so important with, the fact that, currently we have big corporations, not mentioning the wizards on a certain coast, who don't, outreach to their community as much as they should and find out what we as a community want. And so we are very much trying to make this a thing where we've kind of think we've come up with the solution, but we want to hear your guys' voice. So if more than anything, come to back so that you can have your voice heard and join what we call our familia, which is the community that interacts with us here at Homie and the Dude. We have our Discord server that's the main place that all those people exist. And it's just a beautiful, inclusive, diverse space that we're very, very proud of and very, very stoked with. In terms of Sky Zephyrs, just rattle off, 3D-dimensional combat movement and travel rules for you. Brand new aircrew rules, loads of items, spells, NPCs for you to use in your world, creatures and mounts for you to use in your world, plug and play airships, a brand new website generator that currently is going to allow you to build airships out of over 200 parts, but we're going to be expanding with our next Kickstarter to space vehicles, naval vehicles as well. Then we're hopefully going to land vehicles and mechs, possibly planes, all that kind of stuff down the line. So, this is going to be a hub for you guys to come and make exactly the vehicles you want in your game, to the degree that you want them and in a style that you're happy with. But other than that, that's all I got. Do you have anything else?
Just that we're a family business. We're a father and son team that chasing a dream together, and it's pretty cool. And if you like what you see, then come along the journey with us.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. Anyone who listens to this, anyone who takes the time to support, join the Discord, y'all freaking rock. Like, this journey has been incredible because we've done it together, but because we've done it together. Yeah. And that's what's important.
Well, very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys. And again, check it out. It's Sky Zephyrs on Kickstarter. And I'll put links in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching. And may your dice always roll with advantage.